Hello.
And we are doing a special interview this afternoon. This is Aunt Linda from Aunt Linda's Country Tailgate.
Both reached out to Kassie Tyers to ask her to come on the show, and then we decided, hey, we'll just do it together.
Absolutely, because I love doing interviews with you. Kassie Tyers, how are you, my dear?
Pretty good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. This is cool. Now, you just released a new album. Correct me if I'm wrong, 27th of September?
Not pretty much.
Okay. Called Hope, Sing, Ride.
Yes.
You are no stranger to us here in Sudbury because you are a Sudbury girl.
Yes, that's correct.
And you have been doing music for the better part of the last decade, if not
just
before.
a little more. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first album came out in 2008, so 11 years ago. And before that, I was still touring a little bit with a non-for-profit organization called Biography. That's kind of where I got my start.
And you were doing some really cool things with that.
Oh, I miss it. It was amazing.
It's, you're going out spreading positive messages to the young girls out there and playing music and just inspiring people.
Yeah, that, beauty isn't just the outward appearance. It's about who you are, and that inward beauty can really shine outwardly more than just looks or hairstyles, makeup, clothing. And so we focused more on that inner beauty and just encouraging girls that they have such incredible value and such incredible worth.
Can you jump in and tell us more about that? Kind of what you did for the tour and what the experience was like?
So I worked for this organization. It's out of Winnipeg, so I moved there for 3 years, 2007 to 2010. And it was such an incredible experience to be able to put on these events all across Canada and the U.S. My team was called the Beach Party, so we had this beach decor, which was so much fun. We had the tiki torches and bamboo mats and smoothies, and so it was this whole experience. So a girl would come in and just look around the room and be like, whoa, this is awesome, you put this all on for us. And we'd have speaking sessions and live music and discussion sessions where we would talk about, where are we receiving messages about ourselves? Where's that coming from? Is it school? Is it billboards? Is it movies? And what are those messages? What are the positive messages and what are the negative messages? And then we personalized it by writing those negative messages and ripping them up, and taking the positive messages and using those affirmations by even speaking it over ourselves. I am beautiful. I am smart. I like to share with people. I struggled a lot with thinking that I wasn't smart because scholastically I struggled. But I have different kind of smarts. I have musical smarts. I have people smarts. I'm fairly good with my hands with fixing certain things. And I'm just more tactile. I'm a hands-on learner. And so I like to encourage people that every single person is smart and valuable. And their smarts may just look different than the way that school marks them. And I think it's a really empowering thing.
It is, definitely. I love that you do that. Now, for anyone who is listening that doesn't know who you are, please tell us a bit about yourself. Kind of wanted to ask that first, but we got into that. But that's okay. You just gave us a little bit of information about you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm 31 years old. I was born and raised here in Sudbury. My mom, she's really musical, and I kind of just inherited it from her. I remember my uncle at his wedding, my mother and aunt played canon in D. Oh, I fell in love with it. My aunt on the violin and my mom on the piano. And I came home and I started playing some of it by ear. And she's like, yes, I'm a piano teacher. I'm going to teach you. It doesn't usually work, folks, teaching your child. But I had this love for music, and I was always more drawn to the stringed instruments. So it was grade 7 when I picked up a bass guitar, and grade 8 or 9 when I bought my first electric guitar, which was actually $35 without strings. I didn't know if it worked.
That is a bargain right there.
An auction. I didn't know if it worked, but it did, and it was great. And I kind of been mostly self-taught. I'm sort of a free spirit. Don't read music, just kind of feel it.
Cool. Actually, that's one of the things I wrote down about you. That was going to be the intro, but that's okay. We're all over the place. I wrote, having known you for the better part of a decade now, I have come to know you as a determined artist. You're passionate about your music. You have an adventurous spirit and a giving heart.
Thank you. Wow, that was beautiful.
I get to write your next bio?
Sure.
Oh, but it's true. I mean, you're very much all of those things. In the time I've known you, you're constantly involved with helping organizations and promoting yourself too. You are your best promoter. Tell us about some of the things that you've done to promote your music and your campaigns to raise funds so that you can record.
It's the part I least like about music, being an independent artist who has to do everything by herself. So I make a lot of calls. Some of them are cold calls. I try to get warm calls, as I call them. So if I have a friend who has children, then I'll ask her, hey, would you be willing to give this CD to your child's principal? Because I do schools, I do churches, I do restaurants, I do a few weddings, funerals, parties, whatever. I love singing. I'll sing pretty much everywhere, even retirement homes. But yeah, sometimes those are really helpful when you get a warm lead, people in the business call it. But to raise money for albums, it costs a lot of money. A little bit more than my car that I just bought, which isn't that old. It's a 2014 little Honda Civic. And so it's difficult to raise that kind of cash. So last year we had a fundraiser concert, and I got a bunch of different people involved, as well as businesses who donated, and we raised half of the album in one night, which was absolutely amazing because, people in Sudbury who know me and love me, to come and support me, it just means so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you make an album, are you trying to target like the kids and the families that you would play for at churches, or are you trying to make the listeners of the bar happier? What is your kind of goal?
Well, I would say probably not the bars necessarily, because when I go into a bar or restaurant, I kind of mix it up. So I'll sing Sarah McLachlan, or I'll sing Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, and then I'll mix it. So one cover song, one original. So then it's a song that they probably have heard before, and then a song that I've written. So I probably would say, like, my target audience, I've done a business course too to raise money to get a grant and all that, and it's difficult to say who my target audience is because I just love singing for people. But I'd probably say that 60% of those people are probably more so families, and usually church families. Those are kind of more of my strong fans. That's where they kind of come from.
It is interesting with you too, because you also made a children's album at the same time as making Normal, so you have that balance of...
Well, it's not actually quite a children's album per se. It's called Sing You to Sleep, and I actually wrote it because I kept meeting people who struggled with sleep. And as someone who was basically an insomniac, and who found hope, I really wanted to take some of that hope and give it to other people. So actually about half of our population in Canada actually struggle with sleep. And so this is adults, like with the more stress and high pace, it's understandable, right? And so I wanted to create this album that had these truths that I learned, and just this relaxing album that would help people fall asleep, or just kind of as you're relaxing, just taking a listen to the CD, or some people use it as study music. But yeah, I would say that it, like, people of all ages have listened to it and enjoyed it. However, speaking of children's album, that is something on the horizons because I love singing for kids, and it's semi on the down low, but I will share that I'm working on a YouTube channel. Probably won't.
So it's not on the down low anymore.
It's not on the down low anymore. I've never shared it on radio before because it's a long process. But we're taking some of my original songs. I got a song about bubblegum, putting Blue Socks in there, which is from my second most recent album, as well as some public domain kid songs like Twinkle Twinkle, and I've added to it. And we have these videos, and they're going to be fun. And I'm really looking forward to it, but it's probably going to take the better part of another half a year before it launches, before we have like 20, 25 videos. But working on that with my amazing videographer cousin, Jono. He's fantastic. He's in Niagara, so it makes it a little more challenging.
Nice. Is he the one that did Blue Skies? The Adventures Calling Me.
No, that was actually a local person.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He has a business called Image Video, and he's been a huge supporter of my music since the very beginning. And he sponsored that video, and I am forever grateful because that's my first like real music video. So
it's a really cool video to watch.
Thank
you on your motorcycle and just traveling around. And that might actually be a good segue to talk about what you recently did for a radio tour.
Yeah, oh my goodness. It's been my dream for 7 years or so to travel across Canada on my motorcycle with my guitar on the back. And it seemed like an impossibility because financially, like, I put all my money into music. And so I didn't have money to put into my other favorite hobby, which is motorcycling. I used to race dirt bikes when I was a teenager, and I love motorcycles. There's something so freeing and adventurous about just being on a bike on two wheels. It's like nothing else. And so I had this dream, and it seemed like it was impossible. And some people that I shared it with were like, that's stupid. Like, why would you want to do that? Well, because I'm an adventurer, that's why. And so last year I got to go to the East Coast. I only had 12 days off, so I did a couple different gigs along the way, and I was in New Brunswick for 4 days, singing at a motorcycle rally and taking part in the event. And this year I actually had the amazing opportunity to go all the way to BC. So I had a month, and I did a bunch of gigs along the way. I finished my vocals for this new album, Hope Sing Ride, in Winnipeg. That's where the record label was, and now it's the same producer, just no record label. They kind of dissolved, but I really like working with Jordan Jackie. And yeah, I got to visit family and visit friends and be in the mountains, which were unreal.
I love the mountains.
There's nothing like being by the mountains, and the water, like Whistler, was spectacular. I have to go back.
You documented a lot of that on Instagram, Facebook, and it was really cool to follow you when you were doing that. And we have to stress, you're not with anybody. This is just you on a motorcycle and your guitar and the bare necessities to get you through.
It was quite the large load. I had 50 CDs. I had my guitar stand. I had my cords. I had a small amp because I used it as a monitor, as well as some of the gigs they didn't have the proper sound system. So with like this Roland amp, it filled the sound. Pretty big room. I could fill maybe 150 people. And that was quite the adventure, carrying all that. And okay, can I bring this much clothes? Nope, got to pare it down. But it was amazing. I'm glad I brought my heated vest. It was pretty nippy at the beginning.
One thing about the mountains, you can have beautiful days, and then at night it chills right down.
Or as you're going up the mountain, it's 25 at the base of the mountain and about 10 degrees, and it's raining, it stops raining, and then it rains and it stops raining. So you got to be prepared.
Or worse, that 4-letter word that begins with S.
Yeah, thankfully.
How did you plan that out? Like, when you sat down to think, I want to do this tour, I feel like that's not as easy as it sounds either.
Not really. Thankfully, like, my dad is a big motorcyclist, and so he came with me for the first week, which was really awesome. And he came to Winnipeg with me, and we got to hang out on Father's Day, and it was pretty great. But planning it all out, it was I actually didn't find out that I could get the time off work until April something, and I left June 10th, I believe. So it was less than 2 months. So I was calling all these places and emailing back and forth and trying to work it all out. And some of the places that I stayed, because I don't stay in hotels, I stay in people's homes to keep the cost lower. And I don't like to say, oh, I charge $1,500 for a concert or even $1,000. I just say, especially when it's a church, I'm just like, hey, pay what you want. And I just trust that all my needs are going to be met, and they always are. And this tour, I made a good chunk of change with just that. Especially that the gas was only $500 for 9,712 kilometers.
That's impressive.
That is great.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, yeah, it's emailing, it's calling, and even on the road, I was calling some places and emailing them, hey, I know that your cousin lives in this place. Do you think that she would maybe be willing to have me up in her house for a night? And yeah, it all came together. Some of it a little bit more last minute than others, but it did, and it was fun, and it was great, and I want to do it again.
Great. Now, the mom in me wants to know, like, okay, you stay at these people's places. It's great. Oh, a place to have a shower, which is so nice.
Yeah.
A soft bed to sleep on, hopefully in most cases, maybe sometimes a Chesterfield.
Yeah.
Did anyone ever say, do you have laundry that needs to be done?
Oh, definitely. I stayed at like a cousin's house. I stayed at an aunt's house. Stayed at another aunt's house. Another cousin's house. I mean, a quarter of the time it was probably family, because I have family all over, and friends as well. And almost all of them would ask me, "Oh, do you need laundry?" Because yeah, I had about 5 or 6 days worth of clothes, and I was gone for a month. So I think I did, 3-4 loads at least.
And I love that. Love the title. It's awesome. I'm going to ask, but I probably know the answer. Where'd your inspiration for that title come?
Well, it was 4.5 years ago. I was on the island. Manitoulin Island is where my aunt is from, and we have a little cottage there. My cousin had got married, and I was just sitting there. I didn't even own a motorcycle yet. I was longing to own a motorcycle because I had ridden dirt bikes, like I said. I used to race as a teenager. I didn't own a bike for around 10 years, and my heart just longed to ride. And I was just sitting there and just dreaming and kind of seeing it in my mind's eye, this touring across Canada. And it just kind of came to me because one thing that I try to portray in at least almost every song is hope. And it's something that I went without for so long. I was deep into depression for a couple of years of my life, and it's something I want to use music to bring hope to people. So that's just a given for me, hope. And then I'm singing, and then I'm riding. It just kind of came to me, hope, sing, ride, and it stuck. And so now it's plastered all over my motorcycle. I got a bumper sticker, and it's a conversation starter. Mm-hmm. I go to a gas station, and some people are like, "Oh, what's that? What's this hope, sing, ride thing? What are you doing?" And talk to them. Sometimes I give them a CD or a business card, and some people even keep in touch. There was this one guy, Larry. We were both taking a picture of the goose over in Wawa. And I said, "Oh, hey, nice bike. Where are you going?" "Oh, I'm going to BC. I just came from BC." And we chatted for 2 or 3 minutes. Gave him my business card. And he ended up emailing me later. And we kept in touch. And he's probably going to come to my concert on November 1st. And it's just really neat how those kind of things work. Because he's from Sudbury. And we were going in the opposite directions. And you meet the coolest people. Mm-hmm. I love traveling. And I love meeting people. So it's my favorite.
Good.
When it comes to venues, when you're doing stuff like that, what do you find is more fun to play?
Oh, that's definitely a hard question because there's something unique about every venue that I go to. For instance, I played at the Townhouse a few weeks ago, and that was my favorite time of ever playing at the Townhouse. I don't know why, but these people were in a dancing mood. And I had, at one time, there was 10 people dancing. And I was singing some more upbeat songs, and they were dancing and just having a blast. And this is dinner time, people. Like, this isn't like a rock show. This is like me and my guitar. I've never experienced this before. And then I sang I Can't Help But Falling in Love with You. So then I called up all all the couples, and there was, about 10 people, including a daddy and a daughter. It was so cute. That was so much fun. But then, I go and I sing at a concert at a church, and people seem to be more open, I find, in churches when I share. I share maybe a little bit more in churches. We had a CD release concert in Espanola on Friday, and it was fun because I had my band with me, but it was also meaningful because I shared a lot, and I had a lot of people talking to me after, and I love it when my openness can bring about openness in other people, because we all struggle, no matter who we are, if we're rich or we're poor or in between, whether we have a great family or not. Like, we all struggle, and to be honest about it, I think is a really positive thing. And then school, I love singing in schools. The little kids are fun, and I put on a separate show for them where it's more actions and more fun, and they only have to sit a little bit at a time. And then I like singing to the older students as well. I did a mental health day over at Lockerbie for the grade 7s, and that was great because I was able to open up with them, and they opened up to me, and it's awesome, like, seeing students coming up to me, and, like, especially, I don't know, usually boys don't come up to me and tell me that I touched their heart, but, like, I had this one grade 7 boy, and he came up to me with a tear in his eye. He's like, "Your song Unlovable, it just touched my heart, and it made me cry because that's how I feel." And these opportunities to even plant these seeds of truth in people's hearts, and I may never get to see kind of that fruit of these seeds per se, but knowing that, hey, like, I think I just made a bit of a difference here. Like, that's the goal of my music. I don't want it to just be music. I want it to have some kind of lasting impact. That's the goal.
And are you thinking about the listener when you make it then?
Definitely. I have a few people that I've co-written with, so sometimes it's just like editing where my executive producer has been like, did you take English class? Like, did you graduate from high school? Like, you went from first person to third person to first person. Well, I wasn't really thinking. It just went, blah. Here's the song. So now I'm better at actually doing some of that editing process myself. But sometimes it's good to have someone from the outside say, if you just changed a few of these words, I think it would be a little bit more relatable. And let's think about the audience. Like, if they're hearing these words, how is it going to make them feel? And so I try to take that when I'm writing a song. And so sometimes that does cause me to change the song a little bit more to make it more relatable.
Cool. You write a lot of things from your personal experiences, and that's so much of who you are as a songwriter. And I think as a songwriter, it must really help to know that your experience has connected with another human being when they hear that song.
Yeah.
Where does that inspiration come from in trying to pick those moments? Like, what do you feel is worthy to write about?
I don't know. I just write. And I mean, this album, for instance, I wrote it and I rewrote it and I rewrote it and I rewrote it. Out of the 4 albums, this one has been chopped up the most, which is hilarious because I thought it was always going to be my first album because my executive producer did a lot of the chopping and was like, okay, I like the melody. Tell me what this song is about because we need to restructure everything. And but this album, I did most of the rewriting. The inspiration, it comes from anything and everything. It can come from watching a person struggle. It could be from my own struggle. It can be from relationships. It can be from just a thought sparked from a sermon. They just come from everywhere. just sitting and observing people. Sometimes I get a song idea. And so, I mean, there's hundreds of songs that I've written, and sometimes it's challenging to figure, well, which ones are recording worthy. And that's what's nice about, her name's Melinda Zacharias, and sometimes I'll just be like, hey, these are like my top 20, which ones, or top 15, which ones would you think would work the best? And then she gives her honest opinion, and then give to my producer, and then we kind of decide those top 10 or top 11. And it's great having a team in that way, for sure.
Something you didn't have in the past when you first started back in...
Well, actually, that's where it did start, was in Winnipeg. When I started with Beautiful Unique Girl, they were attached to Avante Records. And they were the ones who started recording with me. I didn't really have a team when I recorded like a few songs in Sudbury, but I've sort of had that team on and off through the 11 years.
Cool. There was a quote that I saw on your Facebook page, and I have to read it because I absolutely love it. You said, music is a medium that breaks down barriers. Even someone who doesn't speak English can be touched by music. It's a miracle. To be part of that, to give them a laugh, to talk to people before and after a concert, it's a connection that music offers. I love it.
Thank you.
And I love what you say here, because I'm pretty much an English speaking person, yet I know over the years, other languages, being in Sudbury, we're very multicultural as far as French, English. So you go to Festival Boreal, there's a lot of artists that are singing in French.
Right.
Doesn't matter, might not be understanding everything they say, but you get the emotion and you feel that. So for anyone else, no matter whether it's Italian, German, Spanish, whatever, as long as that emotion's there in the music, that's what you are giving people.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously it does help if you can understand what they're saying, because then you have this double whammy. You have the musicality of the song, which that can touch a person. Even instrumental songs, like they can just touch our hearts in incredible ways. But then when you have the words and the musicality and they come together, it's like a double hook. And I mean, songs have spoken to me so much over my life, and I think it's just it's a gift to me that I am able to write songs and share them, record them, and then they touch other people's hearts. Like, for me, that's what I get so excited about. It's like, I get to do this? Like, this is what I get to do? Really? Whoa, it's kind of like a dream come true. When I first went to Beautiful Unique Girl, I was late because I found out a month before the program started that I would be a part of this program, but I had already signed a contract to play on this music team in Muskoka. So I got there, and I had 1 or 2 nights, and we left on this huge tour. So the day after I got there, we had this meeting right inside of Avante Records Studios. And you probably wouldn't recognize these names. They're pretty famous Christian artists, but Amanda Falk, who's now Amanda Cook, and Starfield, and Avante was a band that toured with them, and a few other big names, Drew Brown, and they're really well known in this Christian industry. They've all recorded in that studio. Greg Sabell, and I'm looking around and I'm like, whoa, like this is a $500,000 studio, they said. I could never be like that good enough to record like them. And literally 6 months later, I'm recording in that studio, maybe less.
Awesome. The one name that stood out to me of all those names you mentioned was Greg Zabel.
Yeah.
Love him.
Oh my gosh, he's so good.
I have his solo music, but in Canadian country, he's known to many people as the keyboard player for Paul Brandt.
Right.
And that's where I first met him, but then I got to know Greg as as his own person with his own music, and I love that gospel edge that he has to his music.
Totally. He's really talented.
But I like how, especially from the perspective of hearing just tons of different kinds of music, I like how you aren't in one area. You know, like you can be, people can listen to without having to know that, well, it's about faith, and other people can just hear it and hear the inspirational message side of it, or this and hear for your voice, or isn't, you know, it's not in that box of this is Christian country folk. It just sounds like a singer-songwriter doing their thing. It's kind of cool.
I try to be intentional about that because I want to be really inclusive, and I don't want to, you know, ever come across as like this bias or whatever. You know, this is how you need to be. It's just kind of like, it's more of a storytelling. It's more of a, here, this is my story, and it's not really preachy or anything. That's kind of the goal. Is just hear the story, and listen. Just an invitation.
Well, I know with so many of the country artists out there, we mentioned Paul Brandt. He always has a very spiritual edge to a lot of his songwriting.
Yeah.
The boys in the Hunter Brothers, High Valley, the Abrams even get into that bordering on a gospel sound. And for me, those are the songs that mean the most to me. Like I hear them differently. Like it sounds like a love song, but it's not a romantic love song. It's about their relationship with their higher power.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because we all connect to somebody, you know, even if you're an atheist or an agnostic, you still believe in something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all how interpretation.
For sure.
Interpretation.
Exactly.
So it's really great. But I love what you do. Absolutely do. Your voice is very soothing. I was playing the new CD for my grandkids before I came today, and I asked the boys, "How do you like it?" It's really nice, Grandma.
Yeah, it is, and I feel like that's definitely a really good point, because when it comes to writing music, if you're trying to hit a huge audience, it doesn't matter what it's about, as long as there's something that the listener can grab onto, right? Also, I noticed that a lot of your songs are stories, but I'm curious if when you make when the songs are created, do you think about what stories can I tell, or do you think more about what emotion am I trying to tap into and write a story about it that way?
Well, how I'll explain it is the first draft of a song, there's no editing, there's no worrying about any of this stuff. It's just raw. Here it is. Here's the raw emotion. Here's the raw thoughts. Here, and I just plop it all out. Some of these songs, it doesn't take a lot of editing. It doesn't take a lot of picking it apart. It's just like, whoa, hey, wow, this makes sense, and this feels good, and whatever. And the producer is like, yeah, you don't need to touch it. There's been a few songs like that. So yeah, and each song is different. If there's a really raw emotion that I'm really trying to portray, then I'm not necessarily always thinking about my listener in mind of like, oh, will they like it? Oh, is it radio? Oh, is it this? Like, I try not to even think too much about radio, because sometimes I've written a song and even my producer, my executive producer, yeah, this is radio. This is going on the radio, and then I put it out there. You know, even spend money for a radio tracker to do it, because they take them more seriously than us little artists, and they don't like it. So it's kind of like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna be me, and yeah, maybe I'll put a little edge on this, but I don't really want to change it just to cater to the radio, because even if I do that, it doesn't mean that they're gonna play it. So yeah, every song's different, and depending on the song, we give it a different flair, or sometimes I just give my producer a creative license to just, hey, this is what I have. What do you see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've got to be true to you too. I mean, if it's too fabricated, too in a certain box, and you're not allowed to represent the artist that you are, then you might as well not be doing it, because expressing yourself through your music is what makes you you, and your music what you give us.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to sway from that.
Yeah, and I agree. And I mean, I know people that have, and then what's it all about then, right? Like, then is it just music? And so for me, you know, I've had people say, oh, do you want to be under a record label? And in some cases, I've thought, oh, it would be so nice to have people to do so much of the behind the scenes work, and I just kind of focus on my music. But I mean, in some cases, if you do that, then you're like, they own you. They say what you're going to sing, and I just don't think that I could do that unless it was some kind of independent label or they're really on the same page. I think my goal would be, if I wanted to do this full time, to hire a manager or something like that. But yeah, I definitely, like, I even have songs about it, like about being true to yourself. So if I sold out, like, what would my music be then? So I have to stay true to that, and I have to stay true to the type of music that I write, and to my fans, my audience. I owe it to myself, and I owe it to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to wrap it up.
I was just thinking that. Yes. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Kassie. Great
It's
to
been
have
my
you
pleasure.
here.
Yeah, thank
so
you.
much.
Great, Kyle. Thank you for the time to co-interview, which I absolutely love doing with you. So much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's nice when you can have two shows that have the same vision kind of come together and give theirs a platform. I like that.
Yeah, that's great. All right. So we've been speaking with Kassie Tyers, local artist, and check out her new album, Hope Sing Ride.
And November 1st actually will be our CD release concert, which is going to be a blast. I have some amazing musicians, and Sarah Craig and Dave Carlson. I don't know if anyone knows those names, but they're pretty prevalent in Sudbury, and it's going to be a really fun night. So much fun playing these songs with the band.
Great. And where's that location?
It is New Sudbury Pentecostal Church, which is just on Levike Street, corner of Levike and Highway 17. And it's kind of just one of those pay at the door, whatever you want.
Awesome.
If you don't have money, just come and enjoy anyways.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And I'm Aunt Linda for Aunt Linda's Country Tailgate.
And when is your show on, Linda?
It is Tuesdays, 11 a.m. till 1 p.m.
And you can hear The Music Prophet Thursday at noon. So thanks for listening, everyone. That was fun.
All righty. Take care, everyone.